While the dragon's sleep became disturbed, the holy tree of Adarath was plunged into despair. What will you do to save us upon your arrival to Yggdrasill? This week on Schedule for Launch, join me, Zach Walsh, as I speak to two of my amazing friends, Noble Grant and Trever from STG Interactive Publishers, to talk about the huge Veil of the Void expansion, Yggdrasill. Explore a Norse mythological-inspired land as new character options, interact with legendary stories, and check out the new crafting system right now on Schedule for Launch. Welcome to Schedule for Launch, a podcast to discover the projects that you may have missed. This week, I am very, very excited to be having a weird episode because it's not going to be as structured. I'm joined by two good friends of mine, Noble, Trever of STG Creatives. Oh my gosh, did I fuck up the name already?
It's all right. It's STG Interactive
God.
Publishers.
Yeah.
STG Creatives, the website. Doesn't really matter. Don't worry.
There it is. Trevor's back from Veil of the Void. Noble's joining us for the first time. Hey, you two. It's good to be talking to you again in the first time in like 2 days.
Yeah, it's been a whopping like 3 days since we spoke last. Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah. Tuesday was 3 days ago.
It's Friday.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it is. It's good to be back.
Folks who have been with Schedule for Launch for a while may know Trever from the second episode where we talked about Veil of the Void. That was over 2 years ago. But if you followed me over to Tale of the Void, which is our Tuesday stream, Noble and Trever are both there. Noble's a player with myself, and Trever runs a game. It's coming to a conclusion soon too, and
it is.
Man, it's been a while. But
it's been
thank you both.
It's been fun.
It's been lots of fun.
It's been fun. Yeah. So yeah, thank you both so much for joining me. I'm going to be honest, like I said, audience, it's going to be a little bit more. This might be a little bit more goofy. I'm going to be totally up there. It might be a little bit more silly, but we're going to be talking about one of the things that Noble led, and that is Veil of the Void's first major expansion, Yggdrasill. I'm pumped to talk about Yggdrasill so much.
Same.
Love it.
Before we get into it, though, Trever and Noble, can you two tell the audience a little bit about yourselves and what you do with Veil of the Void?
Yeah. You want to go first, Noble, or should I?
You can go first.
All right. Well, as Zach said there, my name's Trever. I'm the author and creator for Veil of the Void, Veil of the Void Reforged, as well as the co-author for our Yggdrasill expansion. I do a lot with this game. Outside of, writing the, majority of the first match, designing everything in the first game book, distribution, everything. Basically everything in the background as well as the foreground. I do a lot.
You should make a list one of these days. Like, make your job description. Yeah.
That might make me feel really overwhelmed, though. I'll be like, I do all of this?
Either that or make you be pumped. Like, I do all this.
That's fair. You know what? It actually might be a positive thing.
Make the rest of us feel bad.
Oh.
That's not my intention. I won't write the list.
Well, how about you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
I don't actually know how I ended up here most days. I started playing the Veil of the Void game, kind of on accident. It feels like now.
I feel that.
Trever
tricked you too.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what happened.
It was a complete and total trick.
It was. I'm an aspiring novelist outside of Veil of the Void, and so I've known Trever for years, and I had since before he started. Well, no, not since before he started working on Veil of the Void, but since before the time it was called Veil of the Void. We'll say that.
Yes.
Yeah. So he asked for me to help him with the class stories, and I was like, yeah, that sounds super cool, but also I don't play these kinds of games. Maybe I can sit in on a session that you are running with your test players, and I'm not even sure how I ended up playing that Saturday, but I did, and I think I've been playing like weekly for 4 years now, or whatever it's been.
Yeah, basically, you wanted to learn how
my-
to write the book, and it was all downhill from there.
I'm not even sure how I started with Yggdrasill either. I don't know. Everything's just been an accident. I'll tell you what happened, though. I think it was actually COVID. Like, I started,
That's
I
fair.
remember, being in my room, and I was like, I don't know what to do with my time right now. I'll make a class after Valkyrie. That sounds awesome. Maybe Trever can use it for something.
Oh, I do recall this. You're right.
Yeah, it definitely started with the Valkyrie.
Noble, your story of working on Veil the Void is a lot like how I started working on the podcast. I made a joke to Trever, and then suddenly, here I am.
He's a great person to get creative projects started.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Before we dig in too much, though, and get into what Yggdrasill is and why the three of us are so excited about it, could one of you tell us a little bit about what Veil of the Void is at its root, specifically Reforged, because that is the current iteration that we are utilizing?
Yeah. Noble, if you have any input as well, but mainly Veil of the Void Reforged in particular is all about storytelling and giving you every mechanic needed to make sure your stories work out great. It is for those of you who may need reminders, it's a sci-fi fantasy tabletop game. It's got all sorts of things that I personally love as far as encouraging storytelling, such as skills that advance whenever you use them, proficiencies that you gain over time, and classes that are not limited based to just their regular level classes. You can take abilities and skills from other classes and stuff. So ultimately, it's just a tabletop game that's all about the narrative and storytelling together, and I like to think Veil of the Void does that pretty well. Encourages everybody's story pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Sci fantasy as well. We should also say that it's a sci fantasy.
I think I did say sci-fi fantasy, right?
You may have, but I was
remember.
getting excited about talking about Yggdrasill right now.
That's fair. I'm also excited about Yggdrasil.
Noble, I would love for you to tell us what Yggdrasill is.
Yggdrasill is an expansion on the Veil of the Void universe, basically just building on what Trever made, adding more. The thing that I think of when I think of Norse mythology, it's like just everything is huge, big heroes and big like monsters, and so
yeah,
that is what it is.
Yeah, it's a massive expansion so far.
Yes, it is.
If you need more content for Veil of the Void, you're gonna get it with the expansion.
It's this huge Norse-inspired expansion. I feel like we've seen a lot of really cool Norse-inspired mythologies. I mean, when Marvel brought out Thor, a lot more people started seeing that. But I love the concept that you two have done here with this sci-fi fantasy setting. And like, we're talking like high fantasy and also high sci-fi. And usually those things clash pretty hard, but it works really well in Veil. And just getting ready to play stuff in Yggdrasil and having playtests for some of this game already, you've done some really cool stuff with it. And there's a really like rad story. So could you tell us a little bit about the lore that's going on with Yggdrasil and kind of how it spins the typical Norse mythology on its head?
I could give it a shot.
It's still pretty early on and all over the place, but
well, I feel like I have a pretty solid grasp on what the overall arc is for Yggdrasil. I'm just not I'm not going to be able to tie it together with anything outside of that.
That's fair.
That's fine.
So I'm not actually sure where Veil of the Void leaves its setup as like arc wise, but basically the story is in Yggdrasill that there is an ancient chaotic force that is eating away at the roots of the tree in the endless realm of Adareth of life, and breaking open the gates into the realm of chaos.
It's this setup where more or less a cataclysmic event is coming, and you as the player are getting to explore Yggdrasill and see that world. What drew you, obviously Noble the Valkyrie, that was one of the first things there, but what drew the two of you to a Norse-inspired setting?
Well,
that was all Noble.
Yeah, I feel like that's me.
I feel like
one of my
I'm here for it.
Yeah, it is. It is what it is. One of my earlier novel attempts was of a, basically a sort of Norse mythology type thing, but very not cool fantasy, basically.
Okay.
It was like set in something that was almost a real world, but was definitely not real world. Basically explaining how the gods came to be if they had been. It's basically if they were a bunch of real people and they did kind of bizarre / amazing things. These are the people whose stories would have become godlike after doing these things. So
amazing story, by the way.
It had all the, the standard guys like Thor, Loki, and Heimdall were the main characters.
Yeah.
The several giant characters, giantess main character. Yeah. So I did some. I hesitate now to call it research. It definitely wasn't. It was kind of like a broad overview because I didn't want it to. I was just writing it for fun. I wasn't doing anything with it. I was sharing it with my friends. Yeah. Maybe they would enjoy it. So, I knew some things about Norse mythology, and I was like, maybe we can make something in Veil of the Void with this. It's super popular, and I think I know some players personally who would like to play something like a berserker. So,
true.
Yeah, because why wouldn't you? So that was, I guess, how I ended up doing this. And it's more, I like to call them more Easter eggs, Norse mythology Easter eggs, than actually like inspired by it. Because if anybody actually knows things about Norse mythology, they'd be like, what the heck? This is nothing like it. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, no. And then, we add the sci-fi elements to it all as well. And I think Easter eggs are a great way of describing it.
Yeah.
But then, of course, what was really fun, like, once Noble started suggesting it, and then we started talking about ideas, we were like, wow, our ideas, even though we have never talked previously about these ideas coming together as well as they have, so many things Noble thinks of was like perfect with the core rulebook. We're like, oh my gosh, the core rulebook sets this up so well. Like, a bit of spoilers here, but the fact that the Godlings literally destroyed the void because they woke up the dragon.
Oh.
Among other things.
Among other
they're the
things
reason
that the Godlings have done.
Apart.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. From what I know in game.
Oh, the Godlings. And then we were like, oh, wait, we have a mother tree that expands through multiple realms. It's Yggdrasill. It makes so much sense. Yeah. And yeah, it was great. Noble and I spend a lot of time talking together and coming up with brilliant ideas and then realizing how much work it's going to be. But
but every time it was super abilities.
Fun. Oh, it was.
Yeah, what the heck were we thinking on that, by the way?
What were we thinking? That's like 150 something
We'll get back to that in a moment.
Yeah. It's a whole different thing.
Noble, you had actually mentioned the Berserker a moment there, and I wanted to talk about the new classes that are going on, because, first of all, I love the Berserker. I love my boy Mushy. I'm glad that I got to live out my Mushy Berserker fantasy. And Trevor, I know that you had said that the Berserker was probably the most highly requested thing to be added to the core book when you were looking at Reforged. I remember even talking to you like real early on, being like, we're saving that for something else. But let's talk about the other, like, we'll go through the classes that are coming out, because there's I think five or six new ones that are coming out, and they're super cool, man. They're super cool.
They are really, really cool.
So let's just run down the list, and we'll do like a little description on each one. So first we got the Berserker.
The Berserker.
A heavy weapon-wielding, just beast of a melee fighter.
The embodiment of chaos.
And sometimes a bear.
And sometimes a bear, or a boar.
Or a wyvern.
A wyvern, yes. Every class always has 3 specializations, of course, and I think the Berserker is the only one actually in the expansion right now that has all 3 are unique to the Berserker. Mm-hmm. But they're all about transforming into one of the 3 animals.
Yeah, I remember that very clearly. All right, the next one is the Rhapsodist, and this one is another one I've been in the wait for.
Oh yeah, Rhapsodist is so. What I love this expansion because it like combines all of these ideas that Noble and I had. So the Rhapsodist was the one that I originally worked on, and then I was just like, well, my idea for the Rhapsodist was I wanted to actually be like bards and skalds were in history, where they were less like, big fighters or like all about, the music side. I wanted them to tell stories, because when you look at history, bards and skalds and all of them, they sung of great adventures and they told tales accompanied by music. So I designed the Rhapsodist to be all about telling tales. Each round you can keep channeling and telling your story, which I totally encourage people to role play it and like actually tell a story, because that sounds like fun. But then of course you actually get access to melody spells, so like as you're telling your story you can emphasize it with magic. And I actually added a new thing for that, where if you have 2 people playing melody spells at the same time that are allies, you both increase your melody spell range and stuff like that, because you're harmonizing together, which is just a fun idea.
Yeah, I love it. All right. My personal favorite, and the one I've been most excited for, the Spirit Caller.
Yes. I love the Spirit Caller. I also love the fact that when I had it designed originally, it wasn't for this expansion, and then we brought it in, and Noble was like, how about we like make this Norse? And I'm like, oh, perfect. We have some influences from Heimdall in there, but most importantly, it's like it's a big summon class, in a way. Not really summons that you often kind of picture them to be, where you're summoning like huge, armies and stuff like that, or a bunch of different adversaries. You're summoning basically ancient spirits of like, you could summon like the ravens of like Hugin, Mugen. You can summon like Skull and Hati and different things to assist you in various different ways.
Now, Noble, I know that you had brought this one up originally, but the Valkyrie is making its debut. I know that people are very excited about the Valkyrie as well.
The Valkyrie is it's a pretty complex class to play. You keep track of the kills that you get, and based on the keywords of the thing that you have killed, that will give you bonuses in later fights. Basically, it's a Pokemon catcher.
Basically a Pokemon catcher, except you don't just constantly summon them. You
kill them and send them to Valhalla. It's not as bad as it sounds, I swear.
You brutally murder them and then force them.
But it's fine because you're friends afterward.
Yeah, exactly. You become best friends. You can go train with them, and it's all chill.
Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah,
It's one of the chunkier classes when it comes down to the rules because it's so unique compared to the others.
It's the most difficult, and if I say that it's the most complex as the creator, it definitely is. But if you like the complexity, like Valkyrie is so cool. Like the amount of stuff you get to do with it, especially because it still uses and builds upon the skill leveling system in Reforged, and it does that with like calling your thralls, so like they get stronger and stronger the more you use them, and it's a really fun class.
All right, Noble, I also feel like you should be the one to explain this one, but I'm biased on that. The Watcher, which I think might be, so there's a lot of cool things about the Watcher, right down to its specializations, and like there's just like a lot that goes on with the Watcher, and it's also the one that has probably seen the most like public eyes on it. So tell us a little bit about the Watcher.
The Watcher is another one that was based on Heimdall because he's my favorite. So the Watcher was intended to be basically a god killer, based on the end of the story, where spoilers, Heimdall and Loki kill each other. So I thought that was awesome, and I wanted to base a class on that. And also Heimdall is just awesome. So the Watcher class, watches the realms and gets bonuses based on which one the Watcher is currently focused on. And later on in the levels, the Watcher gets the ability to watch strong plus adversaries that they have met previously. So basically any big bad that you would be intending to fight as the end game, and get bonuses against them and know where they are and things like that. Oh, and the specialization. The 3 are based on watching the past, the present, and the future. The future one drawing some inspiration from Odin. So, yeah.
A really cool class. It's also really good at if you have allies that are a bit too careless, because the Watcher watches.
Yeah, been there.
Watcher knows.
Been there. Been saved by a Watcher a couple times.
Yes. Good old Charlotte.
Oh yeah, one of my favorites. So obviously, along with that and the classes and new options for people, there's also the new species, and I think there are 6 for this. I say that because there was new stuff added, audience. I got a new document right before we were about to join in. So
it just added one more.
One more, but it still threw my numbers off. So let's go through our new friends that we can play as.
It's still 5. It's 5 species and 5 classes.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Okay. Let's go through the 5 new species and kind of how they play into this. Starting off with, once again, another one of my favorites joining us, the Bug Boys themselves, the Etimrets. Love them a whole bunch.
I had so much fun writing them, and then they just fit so well into this setting.
They did.
Especially because
like surprised.
Not the same. And then the fact because like the One Who Consumes was actually written before this expansion, and then once I heard about what Noble made Nidhogg into, I was like, oh my gosh, same wavelength. It just fits so perfectly. So the Etimret are like basically a raiding species that swarms the stars, floating on like actually living ships. They're heavily known for actually their ships biting down onto passing ships and injecting a neurotoxin that stuns and basically drops an EMP into the ship before they go and raid. And basically their whole thing is about consumption. Consuming the roots of Yggdrasill or the life around them and stuff like that.
They're like one part Zerg from StarCraft, one part pirate.
Yeah. And then of course they've also got the new super sensory stuff, so they're weaker to magic, but they're very strong mentally.
Okay, I know you both love this species as well, the Etin. Has some really
so
cool
much.
I know that you guys like the Etin a lot.
They're so
I think
cool.
it's super cool.
They are the former residents of the Void, but they had to move when the Godlings just wrecked their home. So they don't get along with the Godlings. Yeah. So they ended up moving to the Arcane Realm, which didn't agree with them very much. So they used to be these just giant, regular people who live in space, whatever that is. And the influence from the Arcane Realm just warped them beyond recognition. So they're these giant ogre-type creatures that can have multiple heads, more than whatever the regular number of arms is, regular number of legs, and with their ancestral paths following each of the 4 elements of the arcane.
And they each get a unique spell with that too, which is super fun.
Audience, if you're having a hard time picturing, think Oni of Japanese mythology and then paste a color onto it, and that's more or less what the Etin kind of are like. They're rad. They're super cool.
They're fun.
The bad boys of Yggdrasill, the Godlings, are up next.
Oh, the troublemakers.
The Godlings. Deceptively gorgeous beings, very tall, basically the Elan plus, in terms of fighting ability. But unfortunately, their creators forgot to put an off switch on their desire to fight. And everyone's paid for it.
Yeah, they were created at a time of great strife. The primes actually came together and created them without, approval, out of fear. And they're very warlike, and oh man, war is their blood.
If there's not a war going on for them to participate in, they'll start one.
Or destroy the void.
These guys are basically the orcs from Warhammer, in a sense. Like, they just roll up and mess up everybody's day. And they're a lot of fun.
I love when Noble and I were first talking about them. Because, normally in a lot of, the Norse stuff, like Thor and all of them are, viewed as, these big, heroic features and stuff like that. But ours, they're just all a bunch of troublemakers. It's so good. And then the fact that, they literally went, I still love the fact that we came up with this, but they literally went into the void and woke up the dragon who was asleep there just so they could try to fight it. Because they got bored. It wasn't because there was any need for it. They just got bored and they heard rumors about this big old dragon and they're like, cool, I want to punch it. The Godlings, they're great.
One of my favorite things about the Godlings is that they don't particularly care about where anybody's from or what they're doing. If they want to fight, then they will fight alongside you. So their ancestral paths are actually all available to all races at all times.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's cool. Absolutely fantastic.
Okay, we're going to skip one because I want to come back to it in a second. But the Starfolk is up next. And these are a super strange class for most role players. And I think this is one of the classes where one of the 2 species, not classes, that you really start to see the shift in how things work. And that would be these beautiful monstrosities.
Yeah, the good old Starfolk. I love them. I mean, what's not to like about terrifying space sirens? originally they weren't going to be in Yggdrasil, but then like the more and more I started looking into Yggdrasil or into like Norse stuff, I was like, man, there's so many mermaids and sirens and stuff, which makes sense because Vikings were all about sailing and stuff like that, and the Starfolk are basically creatures that lived within the Veil, which is the massive like area in between all the realms and the void that kind of separate one another from interacting with each other. So they actually lived inside this until the awakening of the recent awakening of the dragon actually kind of forced all these eldritch monsters into their area and forced them into our realm. And now they've been kind of living within these vast solar reefs on the edges of space. Their traits allow them to warp up to a planet away. They can use a siren's call to direct ships into black holes, stuff like that. They're also cool because unlike other species, they don't require to breathe, but when they're on planets or in outside of the void or outside of the space, they actually have to have a deatmospherizer. So like the opposite of what normal creatures in this universe have to have, so that they can actually survive without collapsing.
They make for a very interesting species to go into, and you can tell some very unique stories with it. Speaking of which, is one of the most interesting and most mysterious species that I've ever seen. Weird. They're weird. They're one of the.
They're weird.
Super unique.
They're great.
Cool. I love them. The Ocheka, kind of a faceless race of beings, kind of a faceless species of beings that is all based on reflections and magic and expectations. So let's hear about Ocheka.
Yeah, I think you covered it. They are creatures that come from the reflection realm. Well, I guess technically where reflection intersected with presence. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who are
the mirror domain.
Yeah, sure. So they have a appearance as a species on their own, but when they're looked at by outsiders, they look like whatever they're expected to be. So an Ocheka standing in a room full of humans doing human-like things would look like a human. Once people realized that this creature was changing depending on what you happened to expect at the time, once that was discovered, things fell apart for them a little bit. Everybody was horrified, thought they were demons and stuff. So,
as you do.
I mean, I would be terrified.
Oh yeah, something switching based on what I think about? No, thank you.
Yeah. So I think the potential to roleplay with these guys is really fun as an Ocheka sneaking up on someone in a dark room.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I didn't even think about that. The Ocheka are interesting because they're kind of Veil the Void's twist on the Changeling as well.
Yeah. To a certain extent.
To a certain extent.
It's not controllable necessarily by the player. I guess you could if you were like, if you wore an Elan ambassador uniform, then you look like an Elan. So it is kind of interesting.
It's a perception changeling. It's not you changing. Yes. It's people's perception changing.
Yeah. There's that sci-fi element to it, though. Also, players of Veil the Void, don't worry. Your favorite species did not miss out. There are a whole slew of new ancestries for, I think, everybody from the core rulebook got at least one new one.
Everybody.
And, everybody got at least one. Some of them got multiple. And just, a couple of my favorite that I'm just going to rattle off. There's the Essence of Soul Celestia, because, I love those Celestias. Which is all about light and gifts and stuff like that. There's Hell's Memory Exiled, which is based on Hel, the Norse goddess. Trever, I know your favorite is the Yggdrasill Reaper. I know that you really like that.
That was the one I'm going to be playing. I just wanted to play something that was going to be like super thematic with a naturalist. So
Yeah.
plus it's just really cool. They're fun.
There's like a whole bunch of new stuff. And speaking of new stuff for old players, we're going to talk about it finally. Combo abilities.
Oh,
Why the hell did
dear.
you two do this?
Because we were sitting
I
there
don't
eating
know.
pizza. We were like, wouldn't this be awesome, though?
We were at a mod pizza. We were like, oh, this pizza's great. What about combo abilities?
It actually started. It started with me and another one of our players. I think I was playing a Godling. No, he was playing a Godling. And I was playing an Eden. And so one of the Godling's abilities, if you choose the house that he comes with, he can like flash on like a flash grenade and temporarily like stun nearby things. And so he was in the Godling house, but he was a very small, I think it was a Topican maybe. And so we had the idea that my character, this giant like 13-foot tall thing, could toss this tiny mushroom into battle. He could use his flash ability. And yeah, so that was our combo ability. It wasn't based on class, but that was where the conversation started.
Yeah.
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 And then I remember we brought it up when we were at the mod pizza when we were working on the spirit collar. We were working on the spirit collar, and there was a section that said, "Oh, have some sort of ability that works alongside the Valkyrie." And then we were like, "Well, what about that? But if for everything, for some reason."
We had a small conversation about how the Valkyrie and the Necromancer also mesh pretty well.
Yeah. And then that led to combo abilities, and dear Lord help me, I've written so many. There were so many to write, and there's still more.
So what is a combo ability?
So they're pretty fantastic. I actually really, really like them, and I think once we get, especially the Yggdrasill ones, they're going to be super cool altogether. But basically, a combo ability is a twice per long rest ability that you and another player can perform. You gain them in one of various different ways. The quickest way is to have a shared character backstory with another person, so that you both can have this ability at level 1 and start the game with it, which is just a really fun way to encourage players to have shared backstories, which also, helps make it easier for a GM as well, with those awkward introductory scenes. Outside of that, you can also get it by training during your long rests with your allies. So it's another way of encouraging role-playing with your friends and encouraging you all to kind of go like, out of their way to just like interact with one another and encourage their stories. But yeah, there's a lot of fun ones. So it takes currently right now we just have all the reforged ones. But basically it's one class interacting with another. So for instance, the architect and a combat medic can use their ability, and up to twice per rest, the architect can use some of their scrapped to build an auto turret, and then the combat medic can fire the auto turret to heal people, and then the architect can then fire it as a regular turret on that. So like they work together in tandem to heal people. But and each one of the classes has a combo ability with one of the others. So now we just have to get Yggdrasill put in there.
Noble, I have a really hard time killing my players. Can you tell me about your new conditions and the adversaries you've made?
Yeah, we've got lots of monsters. I don't even know where to start. And I don't actually know how many we have being added anymore. I kind of stopped counting at one point.
We've lost count.
It's like a lot, and they're big. They're scary.
It's a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's giant horses, giant, wolves like Fenrir, serpents like Jormungand, and smaller versions of him, bears and birds, and literally all the things. Draugrs, from every realm. So if you want to have a time Draugr, then there's if you need that insanity, or a life
Who
Draugr,
doesn't
which
need
what
that?
the heck is that? Yeah.
Just a regular dude.
Just a yeah, we don't.
If you
Yeah.
yeah, right. There's Bill. He's a life Draugr.
Ah, yes, an undead with the
Hi,
power
Bill.
of life.
Yeah.
That's so.
It's just there's so many wonderful things.
No, well, I'm going to be very
Basically,
upset if you don't throw a life Draugr at us.
Oh, we have
Take
one
him
in
up.
there.
Oh, I'm just saying, if we
Oh,
don't fight
for the
one at the
campaign.
podcast, I'm going to be very upset.
We're just walking through a terrifying, like, spooky forest, and then all of a sudden, hi, I'm Bill. It's a life Draugr.
No, I think, we can't be selling the life Draugr short. I'm sure they're as horrifying as the change Draugr.
I'm sure. Justice for Draugrs. Don't leave the life one out.
Yeah, no, it's
But
good.
these new
Lots of
conditions.
dragons, lots of trolls, and new conditions. The only one coming to mind for me right now is arcane poisoning, just because I love it so much.
Yeah, I'm scared of it.
I love it. So basically, it just makes casting. I feel like it's not that terrible. In addition to the
Just makes
typical
casting more
effects,
dangerous.
it does make casting more dangerous over the limits already somewhat imposed by the charge state. So if you cast spells over 6 charge state, then you have to roll for
Sickness.
Yeah, I guess it is pretty bad. You have to roll for which sickness
Yeah,
you get.
yeah.
Which
No,
includes things
it's
like internal
terrifying.
bleeding and blindness.
And burning. You can
catching on
literally
fire.
catch yourself on fire.
Look, magic is dangerous, okay? And then over 12, it's even better. So
Hey, you roll twice. You just catch you catch on fire, and then you are unlucky like me, and you catch on fire again. So at level 1, you kill yourself instantly.
Why are you casting 7 spells at level? Okay.
I've met a lot of GMs in my time. Some of them don't give you a long rest.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. So it does. It's okay. So I guess we did also have to add the internal bleeding condition as well to accommodate for that.
Yeah. There's
also potentially
there's
a blind
few.
expertise.
Yes, probably gonna have to add something like that in there as well. And then of course I added some conditions as well alongside your insane stuff. Like I was going in with I noticed we don't have a lot of conditions that like reduce virtues, so I went in with like, let's have fun. And, weary, which reduces your primary virtue by 2 points temporarily. Nobody wants that one. Discombobulated, which makes it so your mentality and judgment are reduced and you're stunned. I added inebriation because that's fun. Now, if you want to reenact your players getting drunk. But, alongside the inebriation, I also added the expertise drunken warrior. So that you can literally be, drunk, but be really good at fighting.
Yeah, there you go. So, Trevor, I actually have a question for you on this one, because I know that you and I have talked about this kind of off mic, but what's it been like for you not being in like the front pilot seat for a project and working along Noble to get Yggdrasill out?
I'm sure I'm a pain
clearly,
in the butt.
it's absolutely horrible now. It's been a blast, but I designed Veil the Void to encourage other people's stories, and I don't say this lightly, but from what I've read of Noble's work, I have to say she's probably my favorite author. So like getting to see all of the insane stuff that she's written, and in particular seeing it being written in my universe, is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome to watch it. And then I take inspiration from what Noble writes to add my own stuff to this so that it's a beautiful, like, cohesive, just swirling chaos world. It's great. I love seeing what people do with their own stuff in my universe. So Yggdrasill's like proof of concept.
Yeah, I have to say, I did. I don't remember how much help I got from you in the beginning, but as I was first starting, I don't think I told you that I was even starting it, just in case.
No.
I got to the next day and I was like, all right, I'm abandoning that project.
I didn't know for a while, yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of sent you Yggdrasill when it was almost complete. I was having a heck of a time with the level 20 stuff. And of course I had a lot of numbers. But anyway, the point is that I felt like it was pretty easy for me to use the GM guide in the back of the book and just be like,
ooh,
well, this sounds kind of fun. I'm gonna make it this way. And it turned out apparently relatively okay because not a ton of changes, like significant changes have come out.
I haven't had to make a lot, which that's good to hear the GM book is working. I'm glad its intended purpose is actually, properly functioning. But yeah, no, you've done a great job for most of the part. I really haven't changed too much. The most I've done is like number adjustments.
Yeah, lots of number adjustments because you're like, Noble, this is broken. Like, I don't think it could be glued together at this point. It's just broken.
Man, Noble, those Fen pups the first time, I know that we were like the first crew that went against them, but when I saw those raw stats, and I was like, there's no way you could kill this thing.
And see, those were even weaker than what she made.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sorry. I was probably just coming from reading the Blade Dancer. Those guys do hundreds of damage. It's fine. Just have.
That's true. Don't worry. They're getting. Don't worry. The Blade Dancer is getting updated eventually.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it is updated for use in Yggdrasill.
So,
it
is. You need to fight the things. You're right.
If you can't fight the Blade Dancer, yeah. Okay.
So here's a loaded question for me, and I am going to try and not chuckle when I say this, but what are you most excited about introducing to Yggdrasill and seeing people get their hands on? Each of you.
I think, besides just the classes in general, just because you can do so much with taking specializations from different classes, I haven't played around with it like a ton, but you can make some really awesome combinations.
You really can.
Just within Yggdrasill, but then if you have the core rulebook in, then forget it. There's so many cool things that you can do.
No, I definitely agree with you there. As far as what I'm really excited for, outside of everything we've already talked about, because it's very hard for me to choose because the classes are so much fun and the species are fun and everything else. But I think the thing that I'm most excited personally is the new crafting system, mainly because people have been asking me for a good crafting system. And I'm going kind of all out with this crafting system. I'm adding basically a component that every adversary in Reforged and Yggdrasill drops, so that you as a GM can give players thematic elements that also can still be used and sold for credits. But then I'm also making runic enchantments and potions and stuff that use those items. So everything is interconnected in this massive crafting system now. So if you're someone that enjoys crafting, like this chapter is already 5 or 6 pages or something, and I anticipate it being 15 by the time I'm done, which is good because you don't see many games full on dive into our crafting systems. And also with that crafting system comes something that I've only recently shown Noble, but we've already kind of talked about it, and that's the Descendant runes, where it's all about basically mini modules where you get a story of a weapon and you have to complete that story, and then you can put that rune onto a weapon and it becomes a legendary Descendant rune of a weapon. So if you want a rune of Mjolnir, you can complete a story all based around its lore, and then come back and you have the rune that you can then enchant your weapon with. It's something I'm really enjoying the idea of, and I finally have it working properly. So it's the crafting system is something I'm very excited about.
I am secondarily very excited about the lore, the
Yes,
extra
Yeah,
realms and
the story.
worlds and such. Yeah.
there's a lot. Yeah. The funny thing is, like, the early copy that I gave you, Zach, and the early copy that I'm sending out eventually once it's I'm done editing it and stuff, is like 1/3 to 1/4 of the actual content that's going to be in this book.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. We're not entirely sure how many pages, but I mean, this expansion is going to be big, and it is there. This is like you go to the steak shop and you get like the finest steak, and here it is. There's so much for you to consume and enjoy.
I think it's going to be like about the same page count as Reforged, about-ish. Maybe a little less, right?
Well, Reforged was under 300. I'm thinking Yggdrasill because, like, I'm thinking of multi-page
Right.
art spreads, monsters, everything like that. I'm thinking probably more about 350 plus is what I'm estimating. But I don't know. Reforged is 280, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Reforged
So
is
no,
280.
this is going to be much bigger. I'm thinking probably a minimum, after seeing your work, Noble, I'm thinking a minimum of like 325, based on what I also want to add to this book.
It's rad.
It's going to be thick with a lot of C's.
So, Veil of the Void Yggdrasill is going to be launching on Kickstarter in just a couple of months. What are some of the rewards that folks can grab when they are backing it?
All right, yeah. So we actually just got the Kickstarter page basically up and running right now. If you want to go, like, hit that notify me button so that everybody can get some information on it. But some of the rewards, yes, some of the rewards. So tentatively, we haven't fully figured out pricing, but I'm pretty confident that these should be the prices. For $20, you're going to be able to get both the Yggdrasill and Reforged PDF, so that's basically $10 each, plus whatever digital rewards we get. For $60, you're going to get the Yggdrasill hardback, plus the 2 previous PDFs, as well as the digital and physical rewards. And then for $100, you're going to get the Yggdrasill and Reforged hardback, plus everything previously mentioned. And then, of course, we're going to have some fun add-ons. I've just finalized and double-checked all of my dice that I'm working on for Veil of the Void. So we have some really cool Ever-Change themed dice. And then we're also going to have those available as an add-on. And then I also have a stretch goal for some Yggdrasill themed 12mm dice as well. And of course, if you join our Kickstarter early, you also get $5 off everything. So lots of fun.
Yeah. Also, folks, I'm just going to throw it out there. The book qualities are incredible. Insanely good. I use my Veil of the Void book every week when we play. And it feels like a nice book. Like it's a very professional print. And it's got a good weight to it. It's so good.
I love the pages.
I love it.
I went through 15 printers until I was happy with my ultimate book. I was like, yep, this is it. So Yggdrasill would be like that as well.
I'm glad, because it's so nice to have. Like I said, it does not feel like an indie publication when you get it.
Oh, no. Well, I am all, like, Noble and I, we're all about quality. Like, from our writing to the book printing to how we treat people, quality. Mm-hmm. That's what it's about.
So we're coming up to the end of the show, and I have 2 different questions on this one that I usually ask, but this is a first for me. I've never had a new person on the show and somebody returning. That's not true. It happened once before. I said that exact same thing. So Noble, what advice can you give to new creators that are trying to create something for the first time, but they don't know where to start? We're going to start with that question.
Whoa.
It's a big one.
Yeah. Is it too much of a cop-out to just say start with what you think sounds cool? Like you don't have to know anything about it. Just look at it and be like, wow, that is so cool. I want to make something like that. And then you can, if you are already invested into making something that you're going to like, then you'll learn about it on the way. You'll figure it out.
I think that was pretty much my exact advice as well. No, I think that makes sense.
I think part of your advice too, Trevor, was don't wait 10 years to start working on it. That was another another part of it.
That was one of my biggest advice.
Ooh.
Just start on it.
I think actually my advice is don't throw anything away. Like even if you write something,
advice.
Yeah, if you write something down and you think it's garbage, do not throw it away. Put it in a file in the deepest recesses of your computer. You never have to look at it again, but you never know. You might go back to it one day and be like, "Wow, I can use that." Like there's an idea here. So yes, do not throw anything away.
Yeah, that is good advice. Second that.
Okay. So, Trevor, for you, you can answer this one too, Noble, because I think it's kind of an important one when it comes to creators. But what advice can you give to someone to avoid creator burnout while working on their project?
So that's actually interesting you'd ask that because, I've actually had to learn that recently. I actually, not too long ago, had a panic attack.
Oh, no.
Because I had too much going on. I did 300 games last year, something like that, and on top of that, I'm streaming 7 days a week and 9 hours at work every day. And my biggest thing for not burning out is it's okay to stop working on your project for a month. It's okay to just take time to relax. Your project's not going anywhere. It's fine to just take care of yourself and your mental state more than to not really worry about stuff. Just keep yourself maintained. It's very important to keep self-care so that you don't then burn out on your project. And then of course work on something you like. Have passion for what you're making. You're your own worst critic with stuff, but you can't be your worst critic if you're having fun. just design it, and then you'll enjoy it. And that was my whole strategy for Veil of the Void Reforged and for Yggdrasill. I just have fun writing it. So,
anything to add there, Noble?
That would be my advice.
I'm not entirely sure that. I mean, I guess it depends on what level of burnout you're talking about, because there's a small amount that is like okay, but I guess the best thing to do is just keep it, even if you want to continue working on it and not take a break, because I know if I take a break, that's like if I took a month break, I would never get back to the thing. So I cut my participation in the thing that I'm making down to a very small, manageable chunk. Like I literally write down on my to-do list for the day, write one sentence for Veil of the Void. No, I can write one sentence every day. So I guess the idea is, even if I don't want to get, all of your dreams will come true. They just won't come true this weekend. You don't have to do it all right now.
Oh, there you go. That's a fun way of saying it. It's so wild how, like, not to interrupt on the question, sir. It's just whenever I talk with Noble, it's always so wild how different we are in our creative styles and like how we treat stuff. Like me, I will dive hard into Veil of the Void for 9 to 10 months straight, where every single day I'm just constantly working on it, and then I take like 3 months off. But like I couldn't just do like the one sentence a day, but it's wild because it's so good how each person has their own way of doing stuff, which is what I what's great about humans is we all have our way. So like I think the biggest advice is to just learn what works for you, which is why we both do different things. And then to find someone, if you get lucky enough to find someone that thinks differently than you, so that you can have a different perspective on it, and if you want to work with them too and make good stuff like that, that's great.
Yeah. That has been the most inspiring and motivating thing, I think, is having someone to work with who is also who wants to see something really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Having a writing partner is huge.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Especially when they're as passionate about the thing as you are. Like, that's the biggest thing.
Final question of the night. Super easy, especially for you, Noble. But where can people find out more about the both of you and Veil the Void and Veil the Void Yggdrasill? Noble, do you want to start? Because I think it'll be really quick.
Yeah. Pretty much you can't find me. I think I have a Twitter, but I don't know what it is, so you don't want to follow it.
I actually do have it. I follow you on Twitter, and it is. Give me a second.
I'm also in the Veil of the Void Discord.
Yeah.
I read it all the time. I don't post very much. I don't do social media, unfortunately. Thank you, by the way, Trevor, for
I wish I didn't do social media
for all of that.
At Noble Grant 7 on Twitter, the last time you posted was the first episode of the last time you did anything on your Twitter was the very first episode of Tale of the Void.
I had such grand designs.
Your followers are SDG Creatives, the other mods, and the rest of the cast. So
sounds right. Right.
Yeah. Sounds correct. Well, thankfully, I manage most of the main stuff so that you don't have to. Noble. It's a scary world out there in social media. I spend way too much time on there. It really can be.
But it's awful.
Neither am I. I wish I didn't have to, but you know what? I want this game to take off, and social media is one of the ways to do it. Yeah. Speaking of social media, so the best place that you can figure out about both of us and our projects, and in particular to save the date for the Kickstarter, is to go to our link tree. So that's linktr.ee/Veil of the Void. That has all of our organized links from everything that you could need, from all of our main content to any new releases to merch to character tracking sheets. And then most importantly, at the very top is the Veil of the Void Yggdrasill Kickstarter page, which I recommend everybody go over there and save it, because June 6th is going to be our launching date. And you definitely don't want to miss out on it, because Yggdrasill is going to be amazing.
As always, everybody, those links are going to be down in the description below. Please go and support Noble and Trevor and Veil the Void and Yggdrasill, obviously, because that's what we're here talking about. I would be remiss to say that this is one of my favorite games. We've been doing a podcast and stream for over a year now. And Season 2 is going to be starting shortly after this episode goes live, actually a couple months after, as we wrap up Season 1. I've been working on the other podcast too, trying to get back into it, because I needed to take a break because I had too much on my plate. So,
understandable.
More power
100%, yeah, it happens. It's a lot of editing.
It does. It really is.
But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much, Noble. Thank you so much, Trevor, for joining me on the show this week. It was awesome to have you here.
Well, thank you for having us. I mean,
fun time.
It's great.
And thank you, audience, for listening so much. Noble, Trevor, and Veil the Void Yggdrasill are going to be launching very soon, June 6th, so notify yourself on launch. But until then, take care of yourselves. I hope to see you out there somewhere. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much to Noble and Trevor for joining me on the show this week. It's been a really long time since I've had a chance to speak with them at length about Veil of the Void's projects, and I'm just really excited to see it getting out there. Veil of the Void's one of my favorite games. I play it basically weekly, and I just adore these two so much. Yggdrasill is going to be launching live on Kickstarter really soon, so you should hit that top link in the description to get notified on launch, and follow STG Creatives on their website. STG Interactives. I always do that every single time. However, they do have a really cool quick start on their website, so I'm going to link that in there too, because I really think a lot of you will like Veil of the Void if you give it the chance. And as always, audience, thank you so much for listening. I'm going to be taking a short hiatus while I take a bit of a mental health break for myself, schedule some more interviews, and really sit down and punch out some work for Tale of the Void. That project's coming to an end really soon, at least the first season, and if you're interested in it, I'll post it somewhere online. Thank you for your support, as always, and if there's an indie creator that you want me to reach out that doesn't have some sort of bullshit crypto scheme going on, let me know and I'll reach out to them. That's all from me, though. Take care of yourselves. I hope to see you somewhere out there. Bye.